Mr. Webster is responsible for the variations in English spelling. Some people collect stamps, others collect coins. Noah Webster Jr. collected words. He did not save just the words, of course, but also their meanings and spellings. His collection became the basis of today's American English. Webster was born October 16, 1758, on a farm in West Hartford, Connecticut. His family came from the early European colonists of Massachusetts and Connecticut. Webster was interested in language even as a child and learned to read before he started school. Most children at the time stopped their education after only a few years, but Webster continued his. He attended college at Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. During the 4 years Webster studied at Yale, the American colonies separated from Britain in the Revolutionary War. People at the time argued about the language of the newly independent states. Should it be English or German? After all, 10% of the population spoke German. Others said Hebrew should be the common language. Many schools taught Hebrew so students could read the Bible. Webster thought the language of the American states should be English, but not British English, American English. The only problem was that such a language did not yet formally exist. People in different American states used various words, spellings, and pronunciations. By the time Webster was a teacher, most schools taught Latin, and students wrote or made oral presentations in Latin. But Webster argued that it was much more practical for merchants, mechanics, planters, etc., to know their own language well. He believed young Americans should also learn to use a standard and pure language, Webster said. So he decided to write a series of textbooks, a speller, a reader, and a grammar. Webster published the first book, which came to be called The Blue-Backed Speller, in 1783. Webster worked hard to promote the book. He invented the modern book tour, traveled around the country, bringing the books to his public speeches. The Speller immediately became a bestseller. Soon it was used in schools in every state. In 1787, Webster changed the book's name to the American Spelling Book. Webster thought some British spellings did not make sense. He preferred variations that some Americans were already using. So in his works, he changed music, M-U-S-I-C-K, to music, M-U-S-I-C, and plow, P-L-O-U-G-H, to plow, P-L-O-W. Some of the changes he suggested did not stay, such as changing tongue, T-O-N-G-U-E, to tongue, T-U-N-G, and women, W-O-M-E-N, to women, W-I-M-M-E-N, and many others remained. American writer H.L. Mencken wrote in the early 20th century, "The influence of a speller was really stupendous. It maintained its authority for nearly a century." In the 100 years after the Blue-Backed Speller came out, the only book to sell more copies in the U.S. was the Bible. Webster's speller helped unify the written language of the United States. Webster used the money he was able to earn from his speller to begin another project, a dictionary. He believed Americans needed a dictionary that reflected their own geography, political system, and history. His first version, published in 1806, included about 40,000 words. His second, called the American Dictionary of the English Language, included 70,000 words. To create it, Webster learned at least the basics of over 20 languages. He also defined words that were new to American English. Many were borrowed from Native American languages, such as skunk and squash. He also gave the pronunciation of words as Americans said them. Webster's dictionary came to be a symbol of the country's new national identity. The WebsterConnecticutHistory.org website points out that Webster's efforts also marked the last time one person created a major dictionary alone.